If you eliminate both the right side of the golf course and the left side of the golf course, all you have left is the middle. And I call that the corridor. I've got a training station set up here. The two orange sticks out there are sort of simulating the corridor, and we're going to use these for alignment and for understanding our lefts and our rights. The other thing I noticed is every great ball striker, they actually did two things to take out the left side of the golf course and two more things to take out the right side of the golf course. And if we learn to balance those lefts and our rights, we'll really learn how to manage our golf shots. Now I'm going to start off by demonstrating a good way for side-on golfers to on-top golfers to do this. You know, there are more side-on and on-top golfers together, and their patterns are a little bit more similar to each other than under golfers. So I'm going to start with them just to give you the idea of how that works. So when I have golfers warm up, the first thing I do is I have them create a stance that matches their swing anchor alignment. If they're a front anchor golfer, the front foot will be more forward, and we will actually pull the back foot back a little bit, and that depends on how front anchor they are as to how far we pull that foot back. If they are rear anchor golfers, the rear foot would be forward and the front foot would be pulled back. And again, we'll do that to a degree that actually fits their balance. If they're center anchor, they'll be feet more together and the toes more even. But there's a degree to which every golfer is either a front anchor, center anchor, or rear anchor golfer, and we want to make sure that stance fits them. So I'm going to demonstrate basically what a front anchor golfer would do here. So they're going to stand with some degree of a closed stance as they do this. And as we warm up, we want to make sure that we're creating a good arm swing and a good release that goes along with that arm swing. When I look at the basic sort of fundamental golf swing, we have an arm swing, arms, hands, and golf club, and then we have the body motion. So we want a good fundamentally sound arm swing, and we want a good fundamentally sound body motion. And we got to learn how to put those together. So when I have them warm up, I have them warm up with the arm swing. So what we want to feel when we're releasing is we want to feel like we have a good enough energy sending that club down that we're going to get a good smash into the ground. I always like to describe it this way. If a comedian Gallagher, was doing up on stage and he says, "Hey, are there any golfers in the audience?" And you raise your hand and say, "Yeah, I'm a golfer." He says, "Come on up here," and he gives you a golf club and he lines up a bunch of melons on the front of the stage. He says, "I want you to smash those melons all over the front row." You wouldn't stand there and go and think about all this golf stuff. You take that golf club and you go smash, smash, smash. You'd be smashing those melons hard. To do that, you'd have a good hinge going back so you get some elevation in that club. The more you hinge it up, the more you can smash it down. The other thing you would do is you'd be releasing that club through. You wouldn't be blocking into the melon either. So we're just trying to get a good smashed release here. Get the feeling of that toe going through the target as we do it. If you make a good arm swing and you don't have a body motion adding in yet, these shots will go left if you are a side-on golfer to an on-top golfer. So that's going to look like this. Okay, basic stance, narrow enough that I feel like I'm just making arm swings, and I want to get that smashing feel. So as you can see, I really smashed that one well, and that shot actually went left of my corridor. So when these side-on on-top golfers are warming up, I actually want them to smash it left in the beginning, because that's actually a very good release for them. So most people look at those shots going left and they think of them as bad, a fault, an error. It really isn't an error. It's just a smashed release with the toe going through. That is their first left. Their first left action that actually takes out the right side of the golf course. So again, we just keep going until we feel like we have that nice smashing motion. So when I feel like I'm smashing down enough to get through the ball, take a nice divot, but I'm also smashing through enough that that shot is actually pulling or full drawing or just drawing to the left, then I know I have a good smash release going, and then I'm ready to add in my first right. Okay, so the first right action is, we can actually say which one you pick first is up to you, but the first right action I'm going to talk about today is what I call slotting. So if we get set up, same setup, and I let myself turn my body, open my body in the backswing so I have an area here that I can swing up and down. That's what I call opening the slot in the backswing so I can slot in the downswing. If all I do is slot it well, the ball's going to actually start more right. We'll get set up, open that slot in the backswing. And you see I really slotted that one nicely. So I set that ball out to the right. Okay, contact might not be perfect when I do this, but that's okay because I'm just working on the slotting right now. So I'm going to get set up, open that slot, send it out to the right. Now that one had a good slotting action, but it also had enough of that smash release that that ball started down the right side of the corridor and it drew back in. So when we're working on the slot, we want to see that we're either going to play a straight push or we're going to slot in and release it, and it'll look like it's going to push, but it'll draw back into the corridor. Here we go again. Good slot and release. So you can see that ball wanted to start on the right side of the corridor, but it drew back into the middle of the corridor. And again, I'm not doing a complete body motion yet. I still have a narrow stance. So, I might catch some of these a little heavier, a little thin. I'm okay with that in the beginning. Okay. Open the slot and release. Now if I slot and release them, you're going to see, again, that ball's going to start right and draw back in. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm now going to add in the next right. The next right is adding vertical force in the action, vertical action. So what I want to do is get the feel that I'm slotting it, I'm smashing it, but I also want to get tall through the ball. If I get tall through the ball and I slot it and smash it, these shots are going to go higher and more to the right. And at this level, I'm going to start widening my stance. I've already felt warmed up in my routine, so I just naturally let that stance get wider when it needs to get wider. Okay, so slot, smash, tall through the ball. Now you'll see I'm facing off to the right here. I'm facing right where the ball went. That ball was smashed good. I slotted it. It started to the right. It went higher and further because I added that vertical force or action into the swing here. Okay, so again, I'm going to open the slot, smash, tall through the ball. Okay, so again, you can see that one went down the right side of the corridor because that's where my finish was aimed. All right. So at that point, I actually have what I call two rights and one left. I slotted it and I got tall through the ball. That was the two rights. I had a good smash release, and that was my one left. And that allows me to play it down the right side of the corridor. Now, I can do this without presetting the hip. The preset is a good drill, but some people can't preset it comfortably, so they just open that slot in the backswing by starting with the turn. So let me show you that blended version here. Now there's a good example of what happens with golfers when they just try to blend it right off the beginning, is that I opened the slot in the backswing, I got it up the slot in the backswing, but as I started my downswing, my hands stayed a little bit high and my body turned, so I call that an early turn from the top, and then we get a pull. So that was an early turn pull. Now I pulled it right into the corridor, down the left side of the corridor, so that's the worst shot I have all day. That's just fine. Okay, let's try that again. I'm going to do the blended version, slot it, smash release, fall through the ball. I want this to go down the right side of the corridor. Again, very good. I opened the slot in the backswing. I used that slot in the downswing. I smashed the release. I got tall enough through the ball that shot went higher and went down the right side of the corridor, drew right back in off that right wall. Okay, now the next part is we got to add the second left in. The second left is actually getting my body around the corner. Okay, so if you think of the two lefts are releasing it, towing through, so it feels like your arm swing gets around the corner. The second left is the body getting up around the corner. Remember, we have an arm swing and a body motion. We want some cornering out of both of those actions. So now, to get all the two lefts and two rights together, I need the feeling of slotting, smashing, tall through the ball, around the corner. Okay, now that one ended up down the left side of the corridor. My cornering, my smash release and my body cornering were stronger than my slot and my getting up. So it ended up on the left side of the corridor. It's still a good shot. I would say in that instance, I actually had two lefts and 1.5 rights. Again, if that's the worst shot I have all day, that'll be just fine. So let's see if I can really get this total package blend together here. Yeah, that one was actually pretty good. High, slight draw, down the middle of the corridor, just ended up on the left middle side of the corridor there. But again, I had a really good blending of my slot, my smash, my tall through the ball, and my getting around the corner. Now, by the way, I'm an under golfer, so getting tall through the ball is sort of the hardest one for me. So when I'm demonstrating the side on top pattern, I'll tend to play shots down the left side of the pattern just because it's hard for me to blend all those together. Let's do one more of those here. All right, that's about as good as I'm going to do with that pattern. Again, good slotting action, good smash release, taller through the ball that time. I still got my body around the corner. That shot actually started in the right side of the corridor and fell back into the middle of the corridor. And that's the basic package that we're looking for when we're trying to get the lefts and the rights together. Okay, now, I don't necessarily have to play all four all the time. People think that's ideal, but it's not necessarily the norm for the situation. So for example, if all I want to do is make an arm swing, maybe I have to play a lower draw and draw it around a tree or something, pins back left, let's say. Well, I can actually aim my body in the direction of the slot, which is out to the right, and then I can go ahead and just make my arm swing, my smash release, to bring that ball back into the corridor. You know, pretty good shot there. Now, you know, I aimed it right, I smashed the release, I didn't really turn it over enough to hook it, but I drew it back. And in that situation, that shot will never get me in trouble. If I want to hook it more, I just got to smash release, toe it through a little bit more. Gonna aim out to the right. So you can see that one drew back more. You know, that one got into the right side of the corridor there. Now, you notice how much I stayed down. I didn't get tall through the ball. I wasn't really worried about slotting. The main thing when I'm making that arm swing is I'm just trying to smash that release. So you can see I really smashed that release well. That one actually drew all the way back to the left side of the corridor. So that's how I would manage an arm swing shot if I was a side cover golfer and I wanted to play a nice little draw. All right. Now, what if I want a medium high draw? You know, starts down the right side and comes back in. There's the one where I'm going to get set up. I'm going to make sure I have a good slot and a good smash release, but I'm not going to worry about the second two, you know, the second left and the second right. I'm just going to do the first left and the first right. So once again, I got a nice little draw. Ended up just in the left side of the corridor, but very controlled. Again, all these shots are going to end up in the corridor. Well, what if, you know, I wanted to play a shot that stayed to the right? I got a lake on the left or something like that. Okay. Well, in this instance, I'm going to slot it and get tall through the ball and just make sure that my release is strong enough to keep it there. Okay. So I may aim this one a little bit left down the left side of the corridor. Now I'm going to go ahead and slot it, get tall through the ball. So I slotted it, I got tall through the ball, I had a strong enough release that went straight down the middle of the corridor. But that shot will never go left. So for the side on top golfer that's afraid of it going left, that's how they would play that shot. Well, what if I wanted to take it down the right side of the corridor and draw it back into the middle? Okay, but I need it to go higher, maybe over a tree, or I just need it to go further. The more vertical force I put into this process, the higher or the further the ball goes. Well, now I got to get the total package together. So I can get set up, slot, smash, call through the ball, finish to my target. Okay, so that one went higher, it went further. It started in the right side of the corridor and it drew right back in the middle of the corridor. So those are the four basic shots that come out of this process. There's a lot more that you can do with this. But that's where I start golfers when I'm trying to get them to understand the swing mechanics that match their structural biomechanics. Okay? So, you know, once they have that down, the last thing I'm going to do with them to get their basic package and their basic warm-up routine together is getting to understand a little bit more how to get into the ground. If you can trigger your swing with better pressure into the ground, everything tends to synchronize together better. So we get this feeling, even if I'm a front anchor golfer, pushing down on my right foot and getting enough torque into that right foot that I feel like I've really pressurized that right foot. Push down, torque, okay, is what I'm looking for here. Okay, so I really got better pressure to start that swing, and everything blended together way much better. The smash felt better, the energy in the swing felt better. That shot, again, right down the right side of the corridor, drew right in the middle of the corridor. So we want to understand our lefts and our rights. You know, how the basic release, if you're a side on or side cover golfer, is your first left. How you get the slot and manage that slot being your first right. When you blend those two together, you get a nice little push draw, starts on the right side of the corridor, comes back. Then we add in a second, vertical or a second right. Get tall through the ball, add vertical force. That ball is going to go higher, straighter, more down the right side. When you want that shot to come back, you got to add some corner with the body, which is your second left. Learn to manage those first, then learn to get your pressuring into the ground better. And everybody's pattern's a little different as far as how that pressure or how we pressure into the ground. Just figure out how to pressure into the ground better. And then you're going to find out you're going to start blending all the aspects of the swing together a lot better. And this is how we actually get your biomechanics and your swing mechanics to match your body so that you feel like you're a lot more efficient. It's a lot easier to manage your golf shots. And then we got to learn how to take it out onto the golf course. Okay, now if you're an under golfer, we adjust this process a little bit. The first thing I want under golfers to do is to feel how they make this transitional move underneath. So the shoulders tilt more, the right arm feels more under, and again, they just go ahead and freewheel their release from there. They're not trying to control it, they want to smash it also. So if I get set up and I work more under, so in a sense, that's my first right again. Just trying to stay under, get under, go ahead and release it, and that's going to go down the right side of the corridor with a little fade. So that first under move lets me take out the left side of the golf course. It gives me my first right. Okay, now, you'll notice when I go under that way, my extension is kind of pointing out to the right the more under I keep it. So what I want to do is feel myself go under and then let my extension come around a little bit to parallel left. And that will actually give me my first left. If I can get my under move and then a good extension parallel left, I'll have a good combination, my first right and my first left. You'll notice my extension came a little bit more around to the left that time. That ball went down the middle of the corridor. Again, it doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle, but that's the worst shot I had all day. That'd be great. So under and extend, parallel left is what I'm trying to feel here. Okay, now that one went down the left, just the left center of the corridor, and it faded back to the right. So I know my under move was stronger than my extension parallel left. It didn't quite get left enough, so that had a fade that dropped off to the right. Okay, now, if I want to add the next right in, what I'm going to do here is, again, add more vertical force. And the way I do that as an under golfer is feel my legs push up off the ground like this. I call it a scissor kick move, but that's the feel that I'm looking for. Okay, so again, I had a nice feel of pushing off the ground. I stayed underneath. I released it really well. That ball actually went higher, further. It actually went a little straighter, but it did fall to right. Now, it went straight enough that I know that I really had a good, strong release for my first corner, but my body also got around the corner enough that time to keep it from going right. So that one kind of cheated a little bit. I actually did too good. I actually added a little bit of that second right or second left in into that golf swing. Try that one again. If I do this really well under strong vertical push with my legs and just an average release, this is going to go to the right. It'll go higher, it'll go further, but it'll go to the right. There we go. So that was a nice high push fade for an under golfer. I had two rights, so I had my under move, I had my push off the ground, I had a decent extension, but I didn't have corner, but I didn't release my posture up and around it all. Now the under golfer's corner is a lot softer than the side on and on top golfer's corner, but they do need to release their posture and get around the corner at some point. Okay, so let's do that now. So I'm going to finish taller, get my body up over around the corner. I'm going to get two lefts and two rights here. Again, that was a really good package there. You know, I got two lefts, two rights. It went down the middle of the quarter. It did fade a little, showing that my rights were a little stronger than my lefts. But under golfers are natural faders. If that was my average shot, I'd take it all day long. I know it's not going to go left. I know I'm not going to cut it too much. I know it's going to be in the middle of the corridor somewhere. I can play that all day long. So again, that's how the under golfers get the left and the rights together as far as getting the actions to match their biomechanics. Now, I need to blend it together a little better. I add in the ground force. So that ground force pressure really worked well in that golf swing. I did have two lefts and two rights. They balanced out wonderfully. I really blended together because I really got off to a good start with my ground force pressure. That shot went straight down the court. Again, that's sort of the ideal package for the under golfer trying to blend his biomechanic or structural actions with the dynamic